Please give Denise a warm Ohio welcome.
Commander, I saw the presidents in the back of the room, officers, yes, my Legion family members. It is so good to be out again. It's like I haven't been any place for 15 months, and it's just, I really am excited to be here this weekend. So I thank you for the invitation and to be part of your history making that's going to happen this weekend. COVID has kept a lot of us apart this year, but it has not stopped the American Legion family from doing what we do best, and that's taking care of our veterans, their families, and our communities. Now, as COVID was happening across this nation, we became more and more concerned about veterans who are being isolated and feeling helpless and hopeless and committing suicide. And fortunately, the American Legion family once again stepped up with our buddy checks and made sure that we were checking on our veterans and on each other and a family like we should be taking care of our family members. So I thank you for stepping up and doing the buddy checks as we move along through this strange time that we're finally coming on the other side of it. And as we switch to Zoom meetings and team meetings and more posting on Facebook, it was nice to know that we still have those connections across the United States with each other. But it was also nice to know that the Veterans and Children's Fund was available. It was available to teach our service officers how to do their jobs, and they were getting trained via Zoom on how to help our veterans and make sure that the veterans got those benefits that they deserved and that they earned through their service to this nation. And the other half of that Veterans and Children's Foundation is to take care of the children of those who served in uniform, who needed a hand up in that difficult situation. So I'm thankful that you were there for that also. And I also was happy to see that we had a Legislator of the Year that we were honoring here tonight, because it is so important that we continue to have that connection with our legislators and that they understand that we are not just sitting around asking for them to do something for us. We fill out our consolidated post reports, and I'm sure each and every one of you have done that with your posts. You filled out your consolidated post reports because those reports are telling our legislators exactly what you are doing in your community, so that when we move forward to our legislators and say, hey, our veterans need help, we can say, this is what we're doing. We're putting millions of dollars of our personal volunteer work to help veterans, but we need some legislation behind that also. So it's that work that you do, showing our legislators what we do on those consolidated post reports. You're showing your community and the legislators. So if you haven't filled those out already, I'm sure you have heard from your leadership that you need to get those in. It's never too late. But what it all comes down to is that each and every one of you have something really special inside of you that made you come here tonight. For those of you who aren't here, there are probably a lot of you that aren't here that are out doing work in your communities. So I thank them also. But I hope you have a fantastic convention and hearing about all the wonderful things that are going on in this nation and across the state of Ohio. So have a great convention. I look forward to having time to spend with you as much as I can, and I really look forward to my opportunity to help bring in a new piece of history for the state of Ohio. Thank you. To be here, and as I said the other night, it's an honor to be any place after the last 15, 16 months. So Ohio, I'm gonna steal something from my home state, and I'm just gonna say Ohio, 75% vowels, 100% awesome. You heard I'm from Iowa. If you hadn't figured those two things out, it's like amazing. It has been an awesome time here, and it's been nice reacquainting with some people, and and just meeting some new folks as time goes on. And I look forward to seeing you more times in the future. I hope all of your meetings went well as you expected. I'm excited to see your election process. In Wisconsin, we vote by ballot. We go into another room and do secret ballot stuff. So this will be my first time experiencing, other than National Convention, a vote from the floor. So that'll be interesting. Now, as you heard my background, I worked for one of the Big Ten schools when they were just Big Ten, University of Wisconsin in Madison. And I didn't hear any boos about University of Wisconsin in Madison. So my background is that I managed student loans for the university for 29 years. We had federal loan programs and we had institutional loans, or short-term loans that we could give students that just needed a little bit of help while they were waiting for some other funds to come in. Now, I wasn't responsible for processing applications. That was done in financial aid, but we're the ones who, students came and signed their promissory notes, and we're the ones who actually dispersed the money. So, as time goes on, I spent 29 years doing that job. And periodically you would meet a student that just sort of stuck with your brain. And I had a perpetual student who just seems to always be showing up in our office getting a short-term loan for this or for that and whatever. And one of the first times I started off in a clerical position in the office, so I was meeting the people as they were coming in, the students, and getting to talk to them a little bit. And at the same time, I was a new American Legion member also. So I was trying to understand what the American Legion was all about during the evening time when you're not working, doing my Legion stuff, but then also, keeping my mind on my business. And we had a student, and I'm going to call him Donnie for the purpose of this. And Donnie came in one day and he needed a short-term loan because he just didn't have the money to do something. And so we processed it and it went on, and process goes on. He got the loan and he paid it back. A few months later, Donnie shows up again, and I'm like, weren't you just here? Didn't you just get the money? And then what I learned was sometimes you can give somebody a loan and you're really not helping them. You're just giving them advance on the next month, and so then they need more money next month, and they're just never getting ahead. And I finally said to him one day, I'm like, what is going on? Because I don't get to see the application. I just get to see the final results of it. And he told me that he was a veteran and that he was getting his GI Bill, but his paperwork was all messed up, and he really didn't understand what was going on, and so he's just waiting for his GI Bill money to come. And I'm like, oh, okay. Not thinking much of it. I was just like, okay, that's just how it goes. Sometimes federal government takes a while to get the money processed. And then a few months passed, I didn't see him for a while, and then he came in again. Another short-term loan. I'm like, well, what's going on? What is happening that you just have to keep coming back for money? And again, something happened with his paperwork with the GI Bill and stuff. And so the people that I worked with knew that I had this relationship with Donnie. And so a few months more passed, and Donnie's loan became past due. And before the collector started calling him, they came to me and they said, now, I know you have some sort of relationship with this kid. Do you want to call him and find out what's going on? And I looked him up on the student records and found out that he had dropped out of school. And I was like, okay, so now he's not getting his GI Bill. So he's going to be in all kinds of trouble now. Because he had his bill, he got his money. So I called him up and I'm like, what's going on? We're going to try to help you best I can. And he told me that he had to drop out of school because he was having these terrible nightmares. And he just couldn't go to school anymore. The crowds on campus were just too much for him. And I thought, okay, get my Legion hat on now. What is it that we can do to help this guy? And I said, well, have you filed a claim? And are you going to the VA hospital? Are you getting taken care of? And he told me something that I hear a lot of veterans say, I don't need that kind of help. That's for the other guys. I'm not that bad off. We need to save that care for the other veterans who need it worse than I do. And I explained to him, I said, there's something going on in your life and you need You need to see a veteran service officer. You need to get that help. Now, I'm just a plain old blue capper, fairly new to the Legion, but I caught that much of it. They need to see a veteran service officer. I'm not the expert. I don't know all the answers, just like you don't know all the answers. But as long as you know where to send people to, that's what counts. So I'm like, okay, you need to see this veteran service officer, and he was in the county that we lived in. I'm like, this is the person you need to talk to. We got him hooked up. A few more months passed, and Donnie showed up. He was paying his tuition, and I was like, oh my gosh, did you get some help? And he said, yeah, he did. Not only did he get help, but he was enrolled in the VA uniform. And I was so happy for him, and I thought, wow, I did something good for somebody. Things are good. And I didn't see him for a while. And then one day he showed up for a short-term loan again. And I was like, man, you got your GI Bill, you got a pension, you're going to school, everything should be perfect for you. And then he told me the story about how he had gotten married since the last time I saw him. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. And they had a daughter. I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is really good. Your life is perfect. Except his daughter had some health issues. And they needed to do some adaptive things into the apartment to make the daughter was taken care of properly. So he took a loan to help him through another process in his life. Now, I'd been in the Legion a few more years, and now I'd heard about the Veterans and Children's Foundation. And I thought, well, here's a veteran who has a child, needs extra funds just to get him through this process of taking care of his daughter. The Veterans and Children's Foundation sounds like the perfect thing for that. So I asked him a few more questions, and I got him in touch with our department adjutant and got the paperwork filled out for him to apply for a grant from the American Legion to help with this child that he had in his household. And I was thrilled when that grant came through to help him do some adaptive thing for his daughter to make sure that she was taken care of. Now, Donnie became one of those students that was always coming to visit me, and I'm sure you've got people that is like, yeah, I want to help you, but you just can't keep coming here And I'm sure a lot of you have those people that you see them on the street, you kind of hide because you're like, I can't manage it one more time. But he was a perpetual student. He was one of those students who didn't get out of school in 4 years because just the way his life was handling and going on. And then one May, he came to my office. It was toward the end of the school year. And he stopped by my office to tell me thank you. He said, you're about the only person who's ever listened to what I had to say and really helped me. Really wanted to make sure that my life turned out okay. And I said, wow, I'm glad. I'm glad things have turned out for you. What next? Where do you go from here? What's going to happen from here? And I was expecting to hear a story about, well, he was moving, he was graduating, getting his degree, and where he was going next. But what Donnie told me was, I just wanted to come by and say thank you. And I said, yeah, but what's next? He said, there is no next. My wife and daughter have moved out. Now, I've been in the Legion long enough that in my phone I have the crisis hotline number in there. And I knew that our Student Veterans Association was a floor down from my office in my building. And I knew that I needed to get campus police there as fast as I could. And by this time I actually was a supervisor and I had staff working for me, and so I got them busy talking to campus police so they could get there. As I continued to talk to Donnie, to tell him that life wasn't over and that we were going to take care of him. Campus police came. We got a few of the veterans from the Veterans Association from downstairs to come up to and talk to him. And then they took him right over to the VA hospital, because that's what we do. We hold our veterans' hands and get them the help that they need when they need it. We don't just say, hey, here's a 800 number you can call. You hold their hand and you get them taken care of. We got them to the VA hospital. And I'll tell you what, 3 years later when I saw that man walking down the street, I made a point to go talk to him to make sure that he was okay and that he was taken care of and that he was getting the counseling that he needed. And once again, he said, thanks for taking care of me. Now I believe God puts us where we need to be and when we need to be there. And I was so thankful that I knew just a little enough from my experience in the American Legion of what to do for this veteran. Now, as I go through the history of the American Legion, and some of you may have heard the story that when I first came to an American Legion to join, they were recruiting my husband, Mike, and they told me I could join the auxiliary. And I'm getting a lot of yeses from that. And that was in the 1980s, and I didn't understand it. They told me I could have joined the auxiliary, but they never gave my name to the auxiliary either. So I was in this limbo situation between two organizations that didn't seem to want me at all. And I thought, well, this is really strange. But over the years as National Commander, I had the opportunity to talk to and meet some World War II and Korea era veterans. And I learned a few things that helped me understand why they were reluctant to have women veterans come into their Legion post. Now, I'm not saying there's an excuse. I just sort of started understanding a little bit. Because you see, when World War I vets founded the American Legion, they understood that veterans needed each other. They needed to have that time that they could talk to each other. And the same thing happened during World War II. When vets came home, they came home on a Friday, and on Monday morning they got up and they went to work like nothing happened. Like it was no big deal. They were suffering from post-traumatic stress, but it was called shell shock. And they were told, get over it. Get over it, get on with your life. It's no big deal. When they went to the American Legion halls, they had that time with their buddies who had experienced things that they had experienced, and they were able to talk about their feelings. They were able to share how they were feeling and things that they couldn't talk to their spouses about at home. Now, there were women who were serving as medics or in hospitals or in the United States taking care of vets when they came home, and they saw some horrific things too. They may not have been on the fighting lines in combat, but they were seeing some horrific things too, just not the same type of things. And what I was understanding was these gentlemen in the American Legion Hall who had the opportunity to share their feelings couldn't do that if a female got in their mix, because they would have to man up at that point. And they couldn't share their stories, and they couldn't cry, and they couldn't get that out. That's the post-traumatic stress counseling that VA is offering now. You get that at the hospital now, but they couldn't get that anyplace but in an American Legion Hall. So women veterans across the nation started forming women American Legion posts, so our women veterans could have that same experience. It was a buddy check. The buddy checks were going on way back in 1919. Buddy checks is not something new. It's not something new we just invented. It's just a reminder. Everything we do is just a reminder of what we were actually founded for in the first place. Taking care of each other. Listening, really listening to each other's stories. And now, thank God, we have places we can take people when we're listening to their story and we think they need more help than what I can give them. And we have that crisis line. We have VA hospitals and clinics. And we have service officers. We have folks that can actually help. And while back in 1919, while our our World War I vets were settling in and getting back into their communities and stuff, they realized that their children needed to be taken care of, so they came up with the Americanism and our children and youth programs, and then national security, because they knew that World War I was not going to be the war to end all wars. There were going to be more, and we needed to take care of our veterans, and that's our history of where we're at. Women veterans are now serving in combat. They are taking up roles that our World War I vets would have never dreamed that women veterans would be doing in these days. We are now one large group. There are a lot of women veterans posts out there because there are still female veterans who need that time, just like the male veterans need. They need time to talk about women things, just like the men of 1919 needed to talk about their things that they needed to talk about. But the key to absolutely everything that we do each and every day, not just in the Legion Post, not just when you have your Legion hat on, the key to everything we do is to listen. Listen. Really listen to what our brothers and sisters are saying. And not only will you listen for, do they need help? But what you can listen for is when they start telling you what it is that they like to do in their free time. When you are listening to somebody and they start talking about baseball, and your post has a baseball program, well, guess what? I'm going to take you over and introduce you to the baseball program. If you're talking to somebody and they're like, they like to cook. They weren't a cook in the military, but now they like to cook. Well, guess where you're going to put them? Take them over to the kitchen. By listening to our veterans, to our members, to our Legion family, you'll know where they fit in, what the right place is for them. Because getting them to fit in and getting them to be part of what we do, that's what makes them come back. Because if they're just sitting in a chair at a meeting, I guarantee you, they're not going to come back. Because meetings are like the worst place in the world to take a new member. Get them involved. Help them learn what we do. Show them what we do. Boots on the ground, do the work of the American Legion, and that's what will get those folks coming back. You got keywords that you're going to listen for. You got that? Because I guarantee there's each and every one of you has somebody who mentored you to where you are today. And I'm guessing that probably somebody who's sitting next to you, you may be mentoring them, or they mentored you. And I certainly hope that it's not an empty seat that's sitting next to you of the person who is no longer here, because we already have a lot of those too. Those people who brought you in and got you hooked. They got you hooked, and now you're doing it for them. Get somebody to do it for you too. Keep doing, keep doing. There's a seed inside of you. Each of us have it, and each of us need to make sure that we're passing on what we learned and what we know for the next generation. And when I talk about next generation, I'm not talking about a younger person necessarily. I'm talking about the next generation of Legion members, of family members, the auxiliary, the sons, the riders. It doesn't have to be someone younger than you. It has to be a veteran on the Legion side. Teach them what you know and let them grow from that. You all have it inside of you to share. Again, I want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this conference convention with all of you. It is great to be out. I hope you all have safe travels. Good luck with your elections, all of you. Big decisions to make, and safe travels home. Congratulations.
Sergeant at Arms, please bring before me the newly elected department and district officers for installation. My fellow Legionnaires, You have been chosen to fill the various offices of the American Legion Department of Ohio in your respective districts. I know that you will vindicate the trust that has been placed in you. I know that you will faithfully fulfill every obligation that is required of you. Familiarize yourself with the duties of the offices and carry out those duties with the same spirit from which arose the American Legion. The welfare and success of this department depends upon all of you, as does the preservation of the integrity of the American Legion. Protect the good name of the American Legion with the people of this great nation. Help them to know the Legion's purpose and our policies. Remember that tolerance animates us as members. And remember that there is no rank among us, for we all served as equals. We are all aiming for the same goals, the same ideas of justice, freedom, democracy, and loyalty. Remember, too, that the cardinal principles of the American Legion are the rehabilitation of all disabled veterans, the care of the dependents of those who have answered the final call, the care of those who are now suffering from wound, disease, and want, the education of our children, and service to the community, state, and nation. Legionnaires, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I
Do
solemnly
perform faithfully and the duties of the office of the American Legion I am about to assume. And I further pledge. I am a member of and do not subscribe to the principles of any group opposed to our form of government. Congratulations. Put your hands down. Department Commander Gene Wilson, you are entrusted with very important duties. You must teach the American Legion throughout the entire Department of Ohio. You are entrusted with the supervision of the duties of all officers of the department. Loyalty to the Legion are obligations which you now assume. You are more than just a presiding officer. You are guided by the Constitution and the decisions of the department as a body. Yet the responsibilities of this department are on your shoulders. You must familiarize yourself with the tradition of the Department of Ohio and the American Legion. Now, those traditions are all spelled out for you, and you've seen and experienced, and all of you have had those experiences. But what I really want to remind you of is the duties that you have now taken on, all of you, department officers, district officers. Your duty now is to badger, nag, hassle your officers and all of your post members to make sure that they turn in all of the necessary paperwork that the department wants at headquarters, and to get your members to take training and to attend their district meetings. You are all following in the footsteps of some great former district and department leaders, and they will continue to be there for you, to assist you, but they will also do their best to stay out of your way and allow you to run the department and the district the way that you see fit. By your sincere acceptance and earnest performance of these duties, may the trust that your fellow Legionnaires have reposed in you be justified. And I extend congratulations to the Legionnaires of the Department of Ohio and wish you well as you assume your duties of office. Commander Wilson, it has been an honor to be here and be part of your history. And I'm so proud of you. And you've heard me say before that God puts us where we need to be when we need to be there. I don't know what the pandemic thing was all about, but for some reason, he wanted you to wait a year. But from what I've seen and the respect that I've seen that you've had here, and what I've seen on Facebook and the posts that I've seen as you were anxiously awaiting this day to come, I know, and I know all your fellow Legionnaires know, that you are the best qualified person for this position, and you just happen to be a woman. Congratulations on that. Now I ask you to all turn and face your department. My fellow Legionnaires, I present to you the officers of the American Legion, Department of Ohio. I congratulate you on your selections that you have made. You have chosen them, and it is your duty to aid them in every way that you can. Help them to keep the American Legion faithful to its principles and ideals. And remember, you are all better together. Thank you very much.